I Googled the 10 hardest races in the world, and what came up, number one, was this race called the Badwater 135. It's a 135-mile race through Death Valley in the summertime. It's like the best ultra runners compete against each other to see how many miles you can get in 24 hours. I thought it was a race where you ran like 20 miles, set up a camp, and then ran 20 miles the next day. I didn't know people ran 100 miles, 135 miles at one time. You know, I know it's even possible. I had never even run a marathon. And I'm this big bodybuilder looking guy with his shirt off.
How much did you weigh back then?
I would say I was at least 230. At least. It may have been more.
Been jacked.
Yeah, I was ripped the fuck up.
You definitely didn't look like someone who could run 100 miles.
No, not at all. So I called the race director up. His name is Chris Kosman. And I called him up on a Wednesday. And this is in November. He said, David, to qualify for my race, you have to do 100 miles. And I said, 100 miles in a calendar year? I didn't know what was going on. He said, no, 100 miles in 24 hours or less. And I thought that was humanly impossible. He goes, there's a race on Saturday. He said, if you qualify, if you do 100 miles, 24 hours or less, I might consider you my race. And so I go out there. I start running, and I get to about mile 40, mile 50, and I'm feeling pretty good. I get to mile 70, and it was the worst pain in my life. I didn't know what I was doing. I had Mileplex and Ritz crackers, and I had a blue lawn chair. That's all I had. And I was gonna see my crew person every single mile. And I was gonna drink Mileplex and have a Ritz cracker. They had no water, had nothing. I sat down in this blue lawn chair at mile 70, and the Ritz crackers after mile 20 became Ritz cracker balls because I wasn't hydrating correctly. I didn't know what to do. I was drinking Mileplex for my nutrition because I couldn't eat these Ritz crackers, had very minimal water, if any at all, and I was just dying. So I sat down in this blue lawn chair, looked at my crew person, and I literally couldn't stand up. I was destroyed. And I looked at my ex-wife now, and I was like, I am fucked. And I started seeing like 3 of her. And once my body stopped, my mind just went off. I was discolored, I was pale, I was dizzy, lightheaded. I was in the worst shape of my entire life. I've been in 3 hell weeks, Ranger School, all these different training programs, and this was the worst situation I've been in my entire life. I thought I was literally dying. And everything I had gone through, I realized that the human mind, if you can put it in a very quiet, calm place, and get it to calm down and not be so spastic, that you could possibly make this work out for you. How bad are you really? So I calmed myself down, and I had to make this enormous thing small. I had 30 more miles to run, and my body was in the worst shape in my entire life, the worst pain I ever felt in my life. So I broke this 30 miles thing down. I broke it down to small chunks. I calmed my mind down. I had to get water, had to get potassium, had to get sodium. I had to stop being so dizzy because I had to be able to stand up. So my dizziness went away after about an hour. I was able to stand up now. And I was going around this track at like 30-some minute mile. And I'll never get my crew person saying, hey, I got to mile 81. They said, you're not gonna make the time. I had 24 hours and I was going so slow, taking so much time. This is when I realized that the human mind, once everything gets connected, once the mind knows you're not going to quit something, it's going to try to find more. It's going to try to give you more. Once it realizes you're not going to take the path of least resistance, you're going to stay here until it's done. My mind and my body and my spirit became one for the first time ever. For the first time ever, became one. And I went to a level that I never thought was humanly possible for myself or anybody else. In that shape that I was in, I was able to run 19 miles. And I ran 19 miles, did 100 miles, actually did 1 more mile. I did 101 miles in 18 hours and 56 minutes.